I never thought my life would turn into a scene from some twisted soap opera. But there I was, standing in our living room, with the paternity test clutched in my shaking hand like a ticking grenade. The name at the top read Jason Miller, that's me. But right beneath it, in cold, clinical words, was the truth that punched the air out of my lungs. Probability of paternity. 0%. Zero. Nothing. Not a shred of my blood in the veins of the girl I raised for 18 years. My daughter, Madison. The kid I taught to ride a bike, whose scraped knees I bandaged, whose homework I stayed up late helping with, who I thought I would proudly send off to college in a few months. I thought I was investing in her future, in our future as a family. And then came the flashback. Just 3 days ago, she'd stormed out of the room, her voice sharp with anger when I told her I wasn't paying for her tuition this fall. Are you serious right now, Dad? Are you really going to throw away my education over your stupid paranoia? Her words sliced deep. She didn't even know yet. I hadn't shown her the results. Hell, I hadn't even told her mother, my wife, my lying, cheating, scheming wife, Emily. But let's rewind just a little. You need to know how this storm really brewed. It started with small things. Changes in behavior that I tried to brush off as stress. Emily started working late more often, claiming there were sudden management meetings at her accounting firm. She'd come home tired but unusually giddy, with perfume on her neck that I didn't recognize. You're imagining things, Jason. She laughed it off once when I asked. Don't get all paranoid. Maybe you should work late and stop grilling me like a jealous teenager. She made me feel like I was the crazy one, like I was paranoid for even suspecting. Gaslighting, they call it. But back then, I still trusted her. God, I wish I hadn't. The real kicker came when Madison asked me, out of the blue, why her blood type was different from mine and Emily's. It was a casual conversation over breakfast. She'd been filling out some college form. Dad, if your type O in Mom is a, how come I'm AB? It was like someone poured ice water down my spine. Maybe it's a mistake. I told her, but my mind was already racing. That same day, after they left the house, I drove straight to the clinic. I didn't tell anyone. I needed answers, answers that would either kill me or set me free. And here I was now, staring at the paper that had become my grim reaper. The front door creaked open. Emily strolled in, humming some song like nothing was wrong in the world. Her designer bag dangled from her arm, her lips painted in the shade of betrayal. She didn't even notice the paper in my hand at first. Jason, what's with the face? She asked, dropping her keys on the counter. I said nothing. I just held up the paternity test, my hand trembling, the white paper stark against the dark thundercloud of my rage. Her eyes flicked to the document, and for the briefest second, I saw it. Panic. Pure, undiluted fear. But like the manipulative which she was, she recovered fast. Oh, that? She scoffed, tossing her hair over her shoulder like I'd shown her a parking ticket. Seriously, Jason? You went behind my back and did a DNA test? You're unbelievable. Unbelievable? I was unbelievable? I felt my chest tighten as fury and heartbreak battled inside me. My voice cracked when I spoke. So it's true. Madison isn't mine. She rolled her eyes. Rolled her damn eyes. You're blowing this out of proportion, she snapped. Who cares about some stupid test? You've been her father her whole life. What, you're going to just stop being her dad because you're feeling insecure? Insecure? She had the audacity to call me insecure? That moment, something inside me broke. I wasn't looking at my wife anymore. I was looking at a venomous stranger who had carved out my heart and served it back to me on a silver platter. But this was just the beginning, because I hadn't even told Madison yet. And Emily, she wasn't done lying. No, not by a long shot. She had the nerve to smirk, right in my face, like I was the fool here, like I was the one tearing the family apart. Not her. I can't believe you'd stoop this low, Jason, Emily said, folding her arms under her chest, her posture dripping with defiance, digging around like some pathetic little detective. Do you know how this makes you look? I stared at her, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt, my pulse thundered in my ears. I couldn't decide if I wanted to scream or cry, maybe both. But I did neither. I kept my voice low, each word dragged from the pit of my gut. Who is he, Emily? She gave a mocking laugh, cold and sharp. Oh, please, don't be so dramatic. Who is he? I repeated, louder this time, my voice breaking through the tight rope of control I was barely hanging onto. She tilted her head, narrowed her eyes like she was sizing me up, debating if I even deserved the truth. Then, with the cruelest kind of casualness, she shrugged. Honestly, Jason, I lost count. My heart stopped. I could have taken a punch better than that line. She wasn't even sorry. Not a flicker of regret in her eyes. You're disgusting, I spat. Oh, spare me the moral lecture, she shot back, rolling her eyes like I was the one embarrassing her. You think you're some saint? You were always so boring, Jason. Predictable. Work, home, sleep, repeat. You never once thought about my needs. My needs? I almost laughed, but it came out like a bark of disbelief. What about our family? What about Madison? She walked past me like I wasn't even there, heading to the kitchen to pour herself a glass of wine. As if this was just another Wednesday evening, not the moment our lives shattered beyond repair. She'll be fine, Emily said dismissively. She's an adult now. She can handle it. She thinks I'm paying for her college. My voice cracked with raw frustration. She's counting on me. Well, guess what? Emily said, swirling the wine in her glass with an infuriating smirk. Maybe her real father can step up. Oh, wait. You'd have to know who that is. That was it. That was the moment I felt something inside me fully snap. My chest burned. My fists clenched at my sides. I stormed toward her, slamming my palm on the counter so hard the wineglass trembled. You destroyed this family, I growled, my eyes boring into hers. You lied to me for years. You made me raise a child that isn't mine. And you stand there, smirking, like you've won something? She didn't even flinch. She took a long, slow sip of her wine, then licked her lips with a satisfied little grin. Maybe I have. That night I couldn't sleep. I paced the bedroom like a caged animal while she lay on her side of the bed, snoring softly like she hadn't just ripped the ground out from under my feet. My mind raced through memories, looking for signs I missed. All the late nights, the business trips, the sudden showers after coming home. How blind had I been? Madison. My chest ached at the thought of her. She had no idea. She believed I was the villain now, the cruel father refusing to invest in her future. She didn't know her whole life was built on a foundation of lies and betrayal. I thought about telling her right away, thought about waking her up and dropping the truth like a bomb in her lap. But something held me back. Maybe it was the fear of breaking her heart. Maybe I wasn't ready to see her look at me with the same disgust I now felt toward her mother. Instead, I sat in the dark, clutching the DNA report until my knuckles turned white, my mind burning with questions. How long had it gone on? Who else knew? Was I the only one in this nightmare who had been left in the dark? I replayed Emily's smug face over and over in my mind, each time feeling the rage swell hotter inside me. She had no remorse, no guilt. She had poisoned my life and expected me to just swallow it down and move on. Not a chance. Tomorrow I'd confront Madison. Tomorrow, I'd tear the mask off this charade once and for all. I didn't know how she'd react, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to carry this burden alone anymore. If Emily thought she could keep playing her sick game, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. Morning couldn't come fast enough. I barely closed my eyes, and when I did, all I saw was Emily's smirk haunting me like a nightmare that wouldn't end. The weight of the DNA report still sat heavy in my chest, like a boulder crushing my ribs. By the time the sun pushed through the blinds, I'd already rehearsed a dozen versions of the conversation with Madison. None of them felt right. How do you tell the girl you raised, the daughter you thought was yours, that her entire existence is tangled in her mother's web of deceit? I found her in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, a bowl of cereal untouched in front of her. She looked up, annoyed, like I'd interrupted something critical. What? She snapped, brushing her blonde hair over her shoulder. She had her mother's fire, no question about that. The attitude, the sharp tongue. But I had always hoped she'd grow out of Emily's worst traits. Now I wasn't so sure. I cleared my throat, clutching the folded paper in my hand until it crumpled. My voice felt tight, like I was speaking through a throat full of glass. "We need to talk, Madison." She rolled her eyes. Another thing she got from Emily, and crossed her arms. "If this is about my tuition again, save it. I already told you, I need that check by Friday." "It's not that simple," I said, setting the paper on the counter between us like it was a grenade. "There's something you need to see." Her gaze flicked to the paper, then back to me, unimpressed. "What is it? Another bill? Dad, seriously, you're acting like this is life or death." "It is," I said, my voice nearly cracking. She hesitated then, sensing something in my tone she hadn't expected. Slowly, she unfolded the report, her eyes scanning the words. I watched her expression shift. Confusion, disbelief, then a sharp snap of anger. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice rising. "What the hell is this supposed to mean?" "It means," I forced the words out, "that I'm not your biological father." Silence. Deafening. The kind of silence that feels like it could shatter glass. Madison's chest rose and fell in short, rapid breaths. She looked at me like I'd slapped her across the face. "You're lying," she whispered. "You're lying. Mom said you'd pull some crap like this to get out of paying for school." Of course she did. Emily, that venomous snake, had already poisoned Madison's mind against me. She'd seen this coming. She'd prepared her daughter with the perfect script to turn my truth into a lie. "I wish I was," I said bitterly. "God, Madison, I wish to hell I was lying." Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't the tears of heartbreak I expected. No, these were tears of rage. "You bastard!" she screamed, shoving the paper back at me. "You cowardly bastard. You're just trying to dump me like trash because you're too cheap to pay for college." "That's not true," I shot back, my own anger flaring. "I loved you like my own. I thought you were my own. But your mother cheated, Madison. She lied to me, to you, to everyone." Her lips trembled, but her eyes stayed hard, burning with fury. "You're just like every other man, blaming the woman when you screw up. I bet you wanted out. You probably jumped at the chance." "No," I said, my voice rough and breaking. "Don't you dare twist this. I was there for every birthday, every scraped knee, every goddamn school play. I gave you my whole heart, Madison. And it's tearing me apart that you think I'd ever just throw you away." She shook her head, backing away like I was something rotten. "I hate you," she spat. "I hope you burn for this." Then she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls seemed to shake. I stood there, alone in the kitchen, the crumpled DNA report on the counter like a tombstone for the life I thought I had. My legs felt weak, my chest hollow. This was worse than anything Emily had done. Watching my daughter, look at me like I was nothing more than a stranger who'd ruined her life. Emily had poisoned her beyond repair. And yet, even as the devastation washed over me, something colder, harder settled in my chest. This wasn't over. Emily thought she'd won. She thought turning Madison against me would finish me off. She was dead wrong. The house felt like a tomb after Madison stormed out. Empty, cold, filled with echoes of a life that had crumbled in front of me. I wanted to sit down, just for a second, just to catch my breath. But rage had other plans. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles burned white. I grabbed my phone. I don't even remember opening the messages at first. My mind was a blur, buzzing like a swarm of hornets. But then, as if some sick force guided me, my eyes landed on Emily's name. The last message she sent me before all this exploded was still there. "Don't forget we have that dinner with the Thompsons this weekend. Love you." What a joke. Love you. That word felt like acid in my mouth. I scrolled up, fast, then slow, reading between the lines. The tone of her messages had shifted over the months. Colder, shorter, more transactional. Mechanical love US, timed like clockwork, as if they were chores to check off a list. Then something caught my eye. A name I didn't recognize at first. Brent. Her tone changed completely in those messages. Playful, teasing, disgustingly flirty. My stomach twisted as I opened the thread. Brent. Missed our little meetings. Today can't wait for next time. Emily. Me too, babe. Being around John is so exhausting, can't wait to blow off some steam with you. Brent. He suspects anything? Emily. Haha, please. He's clueless. Just a boring old man with a paycheck. The words blurred. My blood roared in my ears. Boring old man with a paycheck. Was that all I had ever been to her? A wallet and a doormat? I felt my chest tighten so bad I thought I might pass out. But no, I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. I hit call. She picked up on the second ring, her voice dripping fake sweetness. Hey, babe. How's your day going? My voice was ice. Cut the act, Emily. Cut it right now. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing shift. She knew. Oh, she knew. John. What's this about? She tried to sound innocent, but her mask was already slipping. I went through your messages, I said flatly. You and Brent. I know everything. Silence. Then, a sharp exhale of laughter. Not nervous laughter, mocking. Oh, for God's sake, she snapped. So what? You think you're the first guy to get played? I blinked, stunned. I wasn't prepared for her to be this bold, this brazen. You're not even going to deny it? I asked, my voice tight, barely holding together. Why would I? She said, her voice dripping venom. You're pathetic, John. You were too easy. Pay the bills, play daddy to someone else's kid, while I had my fun. And you didn't have a damn clue. Her words slammed into me like a freight train. Madison, I began, my throat dry. She cut me off with a laugh that chilled me to the bone. Oh please, Madison knows everything. You really thought you were her hero? She's been laughing behind your back for years. No, I whispered. Yes, she hissed. She's mine, John. Mine. And I've turned her against you so perfectly it's almost an art form. Something inside me snapped. You think you've won? I growled. You think this is over? It is over, John, she sneered. And you lost. Big time. She hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might break through my chest. My mind reeled, but underneath the chaos, a dark, steely resolve began to form. No, I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. If Emily thought she could bury me under her lies and betrayal, she had another thing coming. I wasn't just going to survive this. I was going to expose her, burn her lies to the ground. She wanted a war? She'd get one. And I was going to make damn sure she regretted every smug word that ever left her mouth. The rage wasn't enough to drown out the sting in my chest, but it kept me breathing, kept me moving. My hands trembled as I went to my laptop. If Emily thought she could spit in my face and walk away clean, she had underestimated me one last time. I dug deeper. Emails, cloud backups, old files she probably forgot even existed. Brent wasn't the only one. Oh no, there were others. I found receipts for hotel bookings under fake names. Even a hidden album of photos that made my stomach twist into knots. There she was, in my car of all places, with another man's hand on her thigh. My car. My goddamn car. I slammed the laptop shut, breathing hard through my nose to stop myself from punching the wall. This wasn't just betrayal. This was mockery. Full-throttle humiliation. And Madison, my daughter, no, her daughter. My heart squeezed painfully at the thought. All those years I spent raising her, loving her like my own, protecting her from the world, only to find out she had been turned against me like a weapon. I needed answers. Real ones. I called Madison. She didn't answer at first. Typical. But I wasn't giving up that easy. I dialed again and again until finally, she picked up with a sharp, bitter tone. What do you want, Dad? She snapped. Not even Dad. Not like she used to say when she needed comfort or help. This was cold. Why, Madison? My voice cracked, but I forced it steady. Why are you doing this? What has your mother told you? A long, heavy silence filled the line. She told me everything, Madison finally spat. Told me how you've always been selfish, how you only cared about your money, about control. How you tried to turn me against her because you were jealous she found someone better. Her words felt like barbed wire wrapping around my heart. You really believe that? I asked, my throat tightening. I don't have to believe it, she said, her voice hard. I know it. And since you're too petty to pay for my future, don't bother calling me again. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, disbelief washing over me in cold waves. This couldn't be real. Couldn't be. For a moment, I felt like crumbling, like the weight of it all might crush me entirely. But then, something inside me ignited, fierce, sharp, unstoppable. If Emily had poisoned my daughter's mind, I had no choice but to fight back, not just for myself but for the truth, for my sanity. I opened my drawer and pulled out the DNA test report. I stared at the cold, clinical words that had ripped my world apart. No biological relation. 3 simple words that changed everything. But I wasn't finished. I took photos of the report, of Emily's messages, of the hotel receipts, and started forwarding them to Madison. One by one. No explanations. No pleas. Just the raw truth. If Emily wanted to play dirty, I was ready to get my hands bloody too. Hours passed like molasses until finally, my phone buzzed. Madison had seen the messages. She hadn't replied, but I saw the red notification. My pulse quickened. A flicker of hope, fragile but alive. Then, another message came in. But it wasn't from Madison. It was from Emily. You think you're smart? Sending her those? Too late, John. She hates you already, and soon so will everyone else. Try me. Her arrogance was unbearable. She really thought she had me cornered, like a wounded animal. I smirked, bitter but determined. She didn't know everything. Not yet. What she didn't know was that I had already spoken to a lawyer. Divorce papers were being drafted, and I wasn't just coming for her heart. I was coming for her dignity, her reputation, her little secret bank accounts she thought were so well hidden. I wasn't just going to end this. I was going to erase her from my life and leave her choking on the dust. Emily had declared war, but she had no idea who she was fighting. The next morning, the sun was barely creeping over the horizon when I heard a loud knock at my front door. Aggressive, repetitive. I didn't even flinch. I knew exactly who it would be. I swung the door open, and there she stood. Emily, arms crossed, chin high like she was walking into court as the judge, not the criminal. Her eyes were burning with venom, but behind the fury, I caught it, a flicker of panic. She wasn't as in control as she pretended. You've got some nerve, she hissed, stepping past me into the house like she still owned the place. Sending that garbage to Madison? You think you're going to turn her against me? I shut the door calmly, leaning against it. No, Emily, I don't think. I know. Her lips curled into a sneer. You're pathetic, John. Desperate. Clutching at lies because you can't handle the truth. Maybe if you'd been half the man Brent is, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere. There it was again, her twisted pride. She wanted to wound me with every word, but she was overplaying her hand. I didn't give her the satisfaction of reacting. Instead, I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Her voice, bragging to Brent about how she strung me along, about how easy it was to bleed me dry while keeping her little affairs on the side. Her face paled. Just a flicker, but it was there. Her armor cracked. You recorded me? She snapped, voice rising an octave. That's illegal. I shrugged. Sue me. For a second, Emily's eyes darted around the room like she was hunting for an escape route, but she recovered fast, flashing me that fake, venomous smile. You're pathetic, she repeated, softer this time, almost pitying. You think this is going to save you? Madison hates you. She's already talking to Brent. Wants him to walk her down the aisle when she graduates. That hit me like a brick to the chest. My breath stalled. My throat tightened. But I held my ground. Madison's smart, I replied through clenched teeth. Smarter than you think. And when she connects the dots, she'll see you for the liar you are. Emily stepped closer, her perfume a sickening reminder of all the years I'd spent loving a mirage. No, John. She'll see you for the loser you've always been. She turned on her heel and stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. I stood there in the silence that followed, my heart pounding in my chest like war drums. She was losing her grip. I could feel it. Beneath all that bluster, all her arrogant smirks, she was crumbling. But I wasn't done. I spent the next hours calling every contact I had. Lawyers, investigators, even a few old friends I'd lost touch with over the years. I laid it all out, no filters, no shame. Emily wanted a war, and I was bringing my full arsenal. That afternoon, I got a call back from my investigator. "John, you'll want to hear this," he said, urgency in his voice. "Brent? He's not just her lover. He's her business partner in some offshore accounts you didn't know about. They've been funneling your money out for months, years, even." My jaw clenched so hard it ached. "I want everything," I ordered, my voice cold. "Documents, transfers, names. If she so much as bought a stick of gum with my money, I want to know about it." "You got it," he replied. As I hung up, a strange calm washed over me. This wasn't just a betrayal of the heart. It was a full-blown heist. And now I had proof. I stared out the window, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky was on fire, streaked with deep reds and oranges, like the battlefield of my life was being set ablaze. Emily thought she had won. She thought she could gut me and walk away smiling. She had no idea the storm that was coming for her. And Madison, my poor, manipulated daughter, she wasn't beyond reach yet. I would burn it all down if that's what it took to save her from her mother's poison. The next morning, I barely had time to finish my coffee before my phone buzzed. My lawyer. I swiped to answer, heart thrumming like a war drum in my chest. "John," he said, cutting straight to the point. "We've locked her accounts. Everything she touched with your money is frozen. Offshore transfers are under investigation. And there's something else. You're not going to like it." My grip on the phone tightened. "Spit it out." "She falsified loan applications in your name. Tens of thousands. She forged your signature. You're technically in debt for money you never borrowed." My stomach twisted into knots. It wasn't enough that she'd humiliated me, robbed me of my family. Now she was trying to bury me alive in financial ruin. "Can we prove it?" I asked, my voice steady, cold. "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "And we will." I ended the call and stared at the wall, memories flashing through my mind like blades. Emily, smiling at me across the dinner table. Emily, whispering promises in the dark. Emily, stabbing me in the back while she drained every ounce of trust one ever had. It wasn't just betrayal. It was war. Just as I set the phone down, another message came through. A photo. My blood froze. It was Madison, with Brent. They were sitting together at a coffee shop, her laptop open between them, her face tight with frustration while Brent leaned in close, too close. His hand resting on her arm like he owned her, like he'd already claimed what wasn't his to begin with. I felt something dark unfurl inside me, something beyond rage. It was instinct, protection, fatherhood burning like wildfire in my veins. I refused to let Emily's poison infect my daughter any further. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and stormed out of the house. I knew exactly where that coffee shop was, and I wasn't going to sit back and watch my life unravel from the sidelines. Traffic blurred past me, my hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline. My mind raced with every possible scenario. How to pull Madison out of this web, how to show her the truth, how to dismantle Emily's lies once and for all. When I arrived, I spotted them instantly through the window. Madison looked tired, worn down. Her eyes, usually so bright, were shadowed with confusion and anger. Brent, on the other hand, wore that smug, predatory grin I'd come to despise. I pushed the door open, the bell jingling overhead. Their heads snapped up. "Dad?" Madison blurted, her face flushing red. What are you doing here? Brent's smirk widened like he thought he'd already won. Funny? I said, my voice like steel. I was about to ask you the same thing. I walked over and slapped a stack of printed documents on the table: bank statements, forged loan applications, offshore transfers. Proof of everything. Proof of her mother's deceit, and Brent's filthy hands all over it. Madison's eyes darted over the papers, her hands trembling as she flipped through the pages. She looked up at Brent, her expression shifting from confusion to horror. Is this true? She whispered, her voice cracking. Brent leaned back in his chair, trying to play it cool, but I saw the flicker of fear in his eyes. It's not what it looks like, Maddie, he lied, oily smooth. Your dad is just trying to scare you. I stepped between them, locking eyes with Brent. Get out, I growled, low and dangerous. Before I forget, I'm a civilized man. He hesitated for a beat too long, then scraped his chair back and left, his bravado crumbling with every step toward the door. When he was gone, I turned to Madison. She looked like she'd been hit by a freight train. Madison, I said, my voice softening, I know you're angry. I know you hate me right now, but you need to see this for what it is. Your mother has been lying to both of us for years. Tears welled in her eyes. She tried to blink them away, but they fell anyway, tracing silent paths down her cheeks. I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. Believe the truth, I replied, placing a hand over the papers. Right here. Cold, hard truth. She sat there, staring at the evidence, her shoulders trembling under the weight of realization. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I saw a crack in the wall Emily had built around her. A sliver of hope. And I knew, then and there, that this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night. Madison had stayed at my place. She didn't say much, just sat on the couch wrapped in one of her old blankets, holding a mug she never drank from. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was heavy, honest. Her guard was finally cracking, and under it all was a daughter just trying to understand how everything she knew had fallen apart. I watched her sleep for a few moments in the early morning light, curled up like she used to when she was 5 and afraid of thunderstorms. I never thought I'd see that vulnerability in her again, not after what Emily did. And speaking of Emily, my lawyer called around 8 a.m. His voice was tight with something between satisfaction and fury. She made bail, he said, but the judge froze her access to joint assets. You're protected, at least for now. I exhaled, barely feeling relief. Emily wasn't the type to go down easy. She wasn't done. Not yet. Sure enough, by noon, she was blowing up my phone with venom. You absolute piece of sh*t. How dare you turn our daughter against me? After everything I gave you, you ruined this family, John. You, not me. I didn't respond. I just saved the messages. Let her hang herself with her own rope. That afternoon, Madison finally spoke. Is it true? She asked, staring straight ahead, her voice calm, hollow. None of it. I'm not even yours. The question hit me like a gut punch. I'd been dreading it, but I knew it had to come. I sat down beside her and nodded. I took a test, Maddie. After everything blew up, I had to know. And I'm sorry, I really am. But the results don't lie. She didn't cry. She just went quiet. Then, in the smallest voice, she said, I feel like I don't exist anymore. No, I said firmly. You do. You're real. You're mine. Maybe not by blood, but I raised you. I was there for every birthday, every bad dream, every scraped knee. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't hurt, but I still care. And I'm not going to let her turn you into collateral damage. She looked at me for a long moment, then leaned in and hugged me. And just like that, something shifted. The court hearing for Emily's fraud came faster than expected. I showed up in a tailored suit, clean-shaven, eyes cold. Emily walked in like she was strutting down a runway, dressed like a politician's wife with no shame whatsoever. Like this wasn't a complete disgrace. Like she hadn't tried to burn me alive and dance in the ashes. She tried to play the victim in court, crocodile tears and all. He's emotionally abusive. He turned my daughter against me. I was scared for my life, Your Honor. The judge cut her off fast. The evidence was a mountain, and her lies were as transparent as glass. Texts, money transfers, the DNA test, the falsified loan documents, even witness statements from Brent's own ex-girlfriend, who testified that Emily had been grooming him since he was 19. The courtroom was dead silent when the verdict came down. Guilty. Fraud. Forgery. Obstruction. Financial abuse. The look on her face when she realized she'd be leaving in handcuffs. That was the closest thing to justice I'd ever felt. And still, it didn't feel like enough. Outside the courthouse, Madison stood beside me. She didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Her silence wasn't cold this time, it was understanding. For the first time in a long time, we stood on the same side. A week later, she moved back in with me. Not permanently, not yet. But she said she needed space from everything. From everyone. College was off the table, at least for now. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty for not paying. Because that money, that trust, it was all built on lies. And Emily had burned the foundation to the ground. But what rose from the ashes? It was something I never expected. A new version of me. Stronger. Colder, maybe, but clearer. I rebuilt. I poured my energy into work. Got back into shape. Started sleeping without waking up in a sweat. Madison and I found a rhythm. Movie nights, takeout on the weekends, silence when we needed it, laughter when it found us. And every now and then, I'd catch myself thinking back. Not with sadness. With clarity. If I could go back, I wouldn't change what I found out. Because the truth, as brutal as it was, it saved me. To any man out there sitting in silence, wondering if your gut is lying to you. It's not. You know when something's wrong. Don't wait until it rots your soul. Dig deep. Ask the hard questions. Take the damn test. Trust, once shattered, doesn't grow back. But peace? That can be built from scratch. And freedom? That sh*t tastes better than any lie she ever fed me.